Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Request. I'm Captain Logan, and joining me as always is Austin, the Day Ghost.
Oh, oh, never mind. I was gonna say, wait a minute. Oh God, hold on.
Ah, rookie mistake. He's got us playing back in his headphones.
I don't even know how that happened. I just had like a giant brain fart though. I saw the request share. I was like, wait a minute. I didn't put out my request share, and
You don't have one.
I was about to get up, and I was like, wait a minute. I didn't get one. I got the After Dark one.
What, you were going to get up in the middle, or right at the beginning of the show, and put it on, or just hold it up for the camera and go, "This is my work shirt"?
No, I was definitely about to walk away for a second and put it on.
Tonight's request comes from Super Billy on Patreon. Thanks a lot to you. And tonight we're going to talk about a really unusual movie, a real oddball that was really well known in the early 90s, but I didn't realize it. For specifically its twist, which was lampooned, I guess, in a lot of pop culture stuff, but went over my head when I was a kid. I never knew what things were talking about when they went to this. And then once I knew what this movie was doing, I was like, oh, that's what that was about in a couple of different things. Tonight we're going to talk about The Crying Game. This is a movie with Forrest Whitaker, although he's not the main character, even though I thought he was at the beginning of the film. This one's gonna be, I just mentioned him because he's the only person that I recognized right off, although maybe I've seen the main guy in things. What is he in? He's in something, right?
So it was bothering me the entire
Fergus,
movie.
Stephen Ray.
I was like, I know this guy from something. I know him from
Oh,
something.
you
And
mentioned
then
this because I said he kept reminding me of Tim Burton, but obviously he's
yeah,
not Tim Burton.
and then when you finally like when you messaged me that, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna look it up, whatever. And it was V for Vendetta that I know him in.
Oh,
He's the
yes,
like main detective guy in that.
you said that, and that's quite a bit later. That's like what, 13, 14 years after this.
Yeah, 'cause this is what
This is
93
92, and
or
V for Vendetta
92.
is what, 07, 06?
I want to say it's earlier than that, maybe 06.
Maybe it is. It's been a while, and I've not done a rewind on that yet.
Hmm.
But
That should be added to the list, is the book and doing a commentary.
So, immediately I have to say there's going to be a massive elephant in the room for a movie like this. This is a movie with kind of delicate, somewhat, especially in 1992, controversial subject matter, and I don't want to give away what it's about at all for anybody that hasn't seen it and might be interested. So, Austin and I are going to spoil things like we always do. I don't think it's possible to give this movie a proper review without really talking about what happens in it. I went back and read Roger Ebert's review. I've been doing that a lot lately with old things that we're reviewing, and there's even his and Siskel's review, television review, is online, and I went and watched that, and they were super careful to say, look, it's hard to even talk about this. We think it's brilliant. Everybody should just see it, and don't, if you do see it, don't discuss it with anybody before you go. And not just because of that there's a revelation, that there's a big twist, but because like Ebert said, and I really agree with this, you have to be really open-minded walking into a movie like this, and I think you're just immediately going to have, like, however you feel about anything, I feel like you're going to have preconceptions going into a thing like this. And so I just want to say right off, I'm I don't even know if I can say mixed on this one. I need more viewings of this movie. Like, I don't feel like my opinion can be solidified without looking at it again. There's a lot of stuff I admire about this movie, and there's a lot of things that I feel like are, I don't know, culturally and stuff, maybe a little over my head, where I just need, I would need to spend more time with it, and maybe a little bit, maybe I would need some historical appreciation that I don't have right now. But so I'll just say, like, I would flip my sign green on this, and I think it's going to be a really interesting thing to talk about. But not throwing any individual specific people under the bus. I was not allowed to walk into this movie as blind as I like to be with these things. And when we brought this up last week, people immediately mentioned the twist, because that's the thing that this movie is known for. And some of it was warning, like, oh, Cap, crap, it's about this. Like, just know what you're getting yourself into. I really wish people hadn't done that. I really wish I could have watched this without knowing what I was getting myself into, because it's so much easier to take it on its own terms for that. And I still really appreciated it, but I think the way in which it wanted to blindside me would have worked better, even 30 years after the fact. This is the 30th anniversary of this movie. This came out in 92. It's 2022 now, and it's maybe a different sort of impact culturally now because of how things have changed and certain things that are more accepted now than were then, and all of that. But I just wanted to immediately, right off, Austin, put up the disclaimer. Watch this movie if you're not... I was going to say if your sensibilities aren't easily offended, especially for, like, I don't know, nudity and stuff. I'll say that. You know what I mean? But, like, this is the kind of thing that I want to talk about for an audience that has seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you haven't seen this movie and you might want to watch it before watching this review, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, I've been saying that for years. I feel like I could word it a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, I didn't word it too good.
Anyway, so with all of that out of the way, Austin, we'll go full-blown spoiler territory, so don't feel like you have to walk on eggshells at all with anything after I got that out of the way. But would you give us, as best you can, a plot synopsis for a movie that is constantly making you think it's about one thing and then turns out to be something else entirely? Tell us a little bit about The Crying Game.
Okay, so The Crying Game is a movie that starts out about like a young man who gets kidnapped by the IRA, who are like an Irish terrorist organization in Britain, and they're holding him hostage, and then they're finally gonna kill him on the last day, and he gets away, but he ends up being killed anyways. But he and one of the people holding him captive kind of form this bond, this friendship. So that guy is kind of traumatized by this happening. So he goes off and he goes to a barber shop that they talked about, and he meets this woman, and then it's kind of a romance between them. And then we also get like the IRA stuff kind of leans back in, and it becomes both a romance and a thriller.
When he says IRA, he doesn't mean the International Rifle Association. He means the Irish, what is it, Republican Army?
Republican, yeah, I think so.
Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
That's some of the history that I'm not familiar enough with to fully appreciate some of what's going on in this movie, although arguably it's backdrop before it's really that important what terrorist organization he's with.
Yeah,
obviously they don't see themselves as terrorists, but for all intents and purposes, he's a terrorist with a heart who probably shouldn't be a terrorist. Is kind of the idea.
Yeah, if you change their name to like the Ten Rings, you still understand what's happening. It's not like the biggest deal if you don't know what the IRA is.
It's maybe sort of important that he's Irish and super polite, but other than that...
Yeah, but I mean, you can get that by his voice. And he does this little leprechaun jig.
Well, you're right. He could be Irish and be with any other terrorist organization. It just happens to be that it's a national thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because he's Irish doesn't mean he has to be with the Irish terrorist group.
yeah, exactly. Like I mean, we can be equal opportunity terrorists. Anyway, so what else happens in this movie? Is that
and then you kind of just have a romance between him and this woman who it turns out is transgendered, and then there's kind of some drama there between them. But like you said, it is actually, I can't remember if you said this at the start or before we started because it's all a blur. But a lot of that stuff is pretty tastefully handled.
Yeah. I did say that before we started.
Especially for the 90s, it could have been.
This movie makes no judgment for or against anything or anybody. It's a shockingly impartial kind of film, right? Like,
yeah,
It's a
gives you the events.
it's a character study. It's about this guy, and it's about his humanity, the fact that he has a real heart, that he ultimately cares more about people than he does a cause, working with a bunch of people who think that their cause is more important than any individual people involved, and he and he's just a good person ultimately, even though obviously he makes major mistakes, and there are huge consequences for those mistakes. Who by the end of the day, his nature is just altruism. He can't help himself, and it's this really weird flip of. This is so odd because the movie uses the Scorpion and the Frog story in a weird flipped way that I've ever seen it. And this is maybe one of the earlier movies to do that. It shows up in a lot of TV shows and stuff. Both Star Trek Voyager and Smallville have an episode with a character that spells out the Scorpion and the Frog story, and almost verbatim with each other and what it is here. I guess there's like a very specific, it's almost like a poem, like there's very specific words for that fable. I guess it goes back to Russia. I don't know if it's 19th century, early 20th century. I think it's like relatively contemporary. But anyway, usually...
I think it was like a 90s Ace of Base song.
I wish it was. Usually, and we'll get to some of these super chats in a second. Thanks, guys. Usually, the Scorpion and the Frog story in things that I've seen it with, like in Voyager, one of my favorite episodes is called Scorpion, based on that story. And it'll be about a like force of nature kind of villain that can't help but do what they do. Even if they might want to go against their nature, they can't help themselves. It's a classic nature nurture thing, but usually it's this real like tragic dark thing of no matter how much you wish you could trust this opposing person, they're going to stab you in the back at the end, just because they can't help it. They can't help themselves. And arguably, the lady who represents the IRA in this is like that, but it uses the Frog and the Scorpion story a lot more about Fergus himself. And it's the opposite idea, that his nature is altruism. He's not going to stab you in the back. He'll throw himself under the bus, ultimately. But, and I'm not even criticizing when I say that. I just thought it was a really interesting sort of story to bring in that fable, because it's sort of talking about the opposite kind of nature, right?
Mm-hmm. When it kind of plays in two ways, like in the sense that of what you're talking, and then it also builds into your kind of initial like first plot point twist type thing.
Yeah.
Where we kind of do the From Dusk Till Dawn.
What a
swap.
crazy first act plot point. I loved this for that.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes in, it turns into a totally other kind of movie. And like I said, if I didn't know that there was supposed to be a transgender person in the movie, which I kept looking for it because I was told that was there, and then I was like, is it Forrest Whitaker somehow? Or are we gonna find out that, like, he was born a woman and, like, nope, it's not that. It's that he's dating the transgender person, and anyway, I would have thought it was a closed room drama up until we get to that. And that first act plot point could have been the end of any other movie.
No, exactly.
It could have been a one-act short film really easily.
Mm-hmm. No, it's almost like here's the movie, and then you get the epilogue sequel.
Yeah, like, let's talk about this for a second, because, like, I keep thinking of this as a movie that says it's about one thing and then turns into something else and then turns into something else. But it's almost, but I think, like, while it's about what it's about, it is still kind of about that, right? Like, couldn't you say that those first, like, 45, 50 minutes could almost be their own story? Like, I don't mean that this guy has a full-on character arc, but just for the sake of kind of an interesting short story or a short subject kind of film, you have a guy who builds this bond well, actually, this would be a character arc. He builds a bond with a man that he has to help kidnap, that he's supposed to execute, and that guy has sort of like a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. And then he is supposed to, when the government doesn't give them what they want by the deadline, he's supposed to take him out back and shoot him. And he takes him out back, and he has the gun, and he's going to try to do that, but Forrest Whitaker gets away. He starts running off, and he's like, I just can't bring myself to do it. It's not in his nature, right? And then a tank shows up and runs him down, and then then it's pandemonium. There's this big battle now with the UK army with the IRA, right? And there's explosions, and this is all stuff that happens in the movie. And then the big question is, when he escapes, like, where's he going to go? Is he going to do what Forrest Whitaker asked him to and go find his girl? And he goes to Europe. They're in Europe. He goes to the UK, and he finds that bar. The movie could almost end there, like as a short subject, right? Where it's like he chooses to leave the group that he's with because he doesn't have it in him. And the Scorpion story has already been there before that. Like, there is actually kind of a story there, all by itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it just, like, it very much is its own type of movie, and then switches halfway through to become a different type of movie. But both, I think, are valid in their own right.
Yeah, and by the end of it, it kind of wins its way back around to the start, or that first act plot point. Like, I do think it all comes together by the end, with his character arc, and with ultimately the kind of person he either chooses to be or can't help but be, depending on how you want to look at it. The whole thing is not, by the way, just about whether or not this guy can love a person who was born as a man who he thought was a woman all along. It's not just about that. It's very ambiguous about that, and a lot of contemporary reviewers called it a love story. I think it is and it isn't. I think it would be very easy to have a read that, because it's very subtle about it. Like, I didn't entirely see it that way. It starts off that way, but by the end, is it romantic love, or is it a love that kind of transcends romance? I mean, like, this guy is not any less heterosexual by the end of the movie than he was at the beginning. It's also entirely possible that you could have a person who falls so hard for this woman, for Dill, that after the initial shock wears off, he doesn't care that she was born a man and can love that person regardless of his initial heterosexuality, right? Like, these things are complicated, and I really like that about the movie. But by the end, Austin, is he in love with her in that way? Or does he love her with, like, a capital L? He just cares so much about this person, he'll do anything for her. They never consummate a relationship. There's a scene where you think that's going to happen and it doesn't. Like, I think it's very ambiguous, and I really like that about it. But when people say this is a love story, I go, yes and no. I don't know. On one viewing, and that's one of the things that I'm kind of up in the air about with it. But what do you think?
It's hard to say, because I had, like, a similar kind of thing to you with the ending, where their relationship still plays a lot the same by the end, but they definitely do care for each other. Like, I guess they probably are, like, seeing each other by the end, but
I guess I just wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah. No, I can understand where you're coming from, because I had a bit of that by the end, just by their kind of the way they talk to each other, because it's the same kind of way that they talk throughout the movie. And yeah, I don't know. There's never, like, a moment where they go, okay, they're together now, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, there's not that typical Hollywood romance moment, right, where the music flares up in the back. You
They
get the
do the slow-mo
strings,
kiss.
and they have the big kiss, and we're all supposed to applaud the movie for being like progressive and brave, and especially in 1992, yeah, it is a courageous film, but I really liked it. It's a courageous movie about something kind of grander than, should this woman be allowed to live her life any way she wants to as far as her sexuality is concerned. It's bigger than that. That's in there, but and I also have questions about whether that's linked at all to what Fergus initially thinks he wants as a terrorist, as a member of the IRA, because I didn't know anything about any of that, so I read into it a little bit. And what I read, and tell me if I'm off base about this, because I did 5 minutes of cursory homework. But what I read was that the IRA was about independence for Ireland from the UK, and what they wanted was something more like a socialist government. So that makes me wonder: is the movie like somehow kind of anti-socialist, in that it's about in Dill, a character who is really independent and lives her life very much on her own terms, versus this guy who's essentially wanting a socialist regime to take over. I don't know. I don't know if those two things are linked at all. If there's any kind of read you're supposed to have, because it also feels like it doesn't matter that it's IRA, that it could be anything, like we said earlier. So I'm not sure how to read any of that.
Mhm. Yeah, like you could update this to somewhere in the States with like another kind of hate group. Uh,
Yeah.
mhm.
And there's a racial component, but the IRA didn't seem to really have that much to do with racism, as far as I can tell. But then the woman that brings Forrest Whitaker in toward the beginning sort of seems like maybe part of the reason she doesn't like him is that he's black, but I'm not totally sure about that.
Mhm. Uh, yeah, I'm sure it's like a mix of things. They just hate everybody, those Irish.
Like, I don't just feel not qualified to review this, I didn't feel qualified to watch it.
That is true. You had to ask me what the IRA was.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really know what that was. This is
Uh,
just history I'm not familiar with.
mhm. No, for sure. Yeah, I guess like in the States, it's probably not something that's really talked about.
Well, we should mention some of the history of the film itself. It's kind of
Mhm.
interesting that this movie did not perform well in the UK, and because it seems like almost entirely because of the advertising campaign here, it did really well and was kind of oddly a phenomenon for a minute. It only made $60 million, which for this kind of movie is really good, and up against a super tiny budget. So it
Mhm.
did really well here, and the reason, Austin, I don't know if you read up on this, is because all of all the ads, all the trailers made a big deal that there's a thing that happens in it that you can't tell anybody about. Like, go see
Oh,
this
they did the
movie.
Psycho thing.
Yes, it was exactly the Psycho, and that's how Roger Ebert described it in his review too. Was that it's like Psycho. There's this big revelation. Don't walk out of the theater and tell anybody what it is.
I mean, that's the way to sell like a movie with a big twist like this, like the Psycho thing, or like a From Dusk Till Dawn, like I said earlier. Um, I also just realized somebody said something about Miramax in the chat,
Yeah.
and I think.
Miramax was really floundering at the time, and that's why they took this movie and put it out in the States.
Well, I was about to say, are they Disney at this
Yeah.
point? 92? Yes, this is technically, or was technically, a Disney movie.
Oh, you mean, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like now. Yes, they're Disney now. I don't know if they were Disney in 1992. I don't think
No,
they
I think
were.
Disney sold Miramax a long time ago.
Oh, really?
Uh,
I thought they were now. Okay, I have no idea.
I could be wrong about that, but I thought they bought Miramax for a bit in the 90s and then sold them. I could be wrong though.
Brian McCann says Neil. He means the director. What is his name?
Neil Jordan.
I don't like to refer to directors and actors by their first names. I don't know them personally.
Oh, they sold Miramax in 2006.
Neil Jordan said it's about love, is love, and learning to accept that a straight man could fall in love with a gay crossdresser without sex being involved. Okay, but I'm always taking movies as movies, and they live without their creators, and they take on their own life and whatever identity they take on, right? It's a movie about identity. The movie itself has an identity, and just the piece that I saw, I feel like you could read it really in either direction. That it like it could remain a romantic thing ultimately again once he gets over the shock of I didn't expect to see what I saw in the bedroom, but I wasn't 100% sure. It feels ambiguous about it. So even if the director says this is what he intended, just the piece I saw felt ambiguous about it.
Yeah, just the way that you kind of felt watching it. I mean,
well, not just how I felt, but just what
we're just like what you how you interpreted things.
Yeah, but I mean, just with the information I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, of course.
I don't have enough information because I'm not in his head like I would be a character in a novel, and I don't mean to say that I'm too walled off from him. I don't know that that's fair either, but I don't he's got every opportunity to make out with her and stuff, and he's not really doing that. Like there's at least one place where she says kiss me and he does, and he's not hating it or anything, but how much of what he's doing is for her before it's for himself, I'm not sure. And before we started recording, you had a whole other read that I didn't really have, which was maybe more of it has to do with his guilt for killing Forrest Whitaker's character, or getting Forrest Whitaker's character killed in the beginning. Like, that's definitely wrapped up in there. I don't know that that's most of it at the point that he's really developed feelings for her.
Yeah, like it kind of starts as that and then moves forward from there.
Yeah.
But you get like this kind of goofy shot that they play a lot while they're together, where Forrest Whitaker like runs forward and throws a cricket ball. They make like that.
I wasn't totally sure how to read that choice. 2 or 3 times you see. I'm assuming it's supposed to be from the protagonist's mind, where he's imagining that, and that's like he can't get that out of his head, of Forrest Whitaker's character Jody doing what he really loves to do, playing cricket. What's your read on that? Why do we keep flashing to that?
Well, I think it's just because that's one of the big things they talked about in something that they both liked and like kind of brought them together. And because he's feeling that guilt, it's just like,
is it about the guilt? Is it I took this away from him?
Yeah.
Because the jacket or the sweater seems to be kind of a symbol in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the cricket sweater, and then she wears it again later, like in the third act.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even I think it's his, like the place that he's staying. There's just like perpetually a cricket game playing like outside of his balcony that he kind of looks at every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of, I saw that as the kind of guilt for what he took away from this guy, and something like I said that they kind of both latched onto each other that helped them make the connection that they did.
When I said earlier that it really kind of, I think, sticks the landing by the end and isn't just a bunch of stuff that happens, even though it does keep you guessing as to what it's really about. When you get to the end and she picks up the gun and Dill and shoots the female IRA agent, that calls back to and it's the same gun, right? It calls back to that first act plot point when our protagonist couldn't shoot Jody, couldn't shoot Forrest Whitaker in the back, and he was expected to, for a greater cause, for the greater good, to do something that he saw as reprehensible and inhuman and against his nature, right? And
Mhm.
then toward the end, she does a arguably righteous kill that, like, it's maybe a righteous vengeance. It's also uh, self-defense, and then he takes the fall for her, uh, so that because he sees it as a righteous killing, and goes to prison at the end. But I think that's also partly in his own mind to pay for the mistake he made at the beginning, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. It's paying for your sins.
And so he's helping her in two different ways, there, where it's a path of redemption for him for what he did to Forrest Whitaker's character, but it's also keeping her from going to prison because in his mind that's not fair.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of your way that you that it all wraps up together, even though it feels in the moment like you're kind of shifting gears completely.
Yeah.
Like it isn't exactly
But
like
the
it
more I
obviously
think
does all
about it, the more
track.
that it's a really unusual structure, and then the more I think about it, it's not either.
Hmm. No, it's almost like you realized that your epilogue is the story, and then you kind of
Yeah.
expanded that out, right?
That's a really good call. And that what you thought was the story at the beginning is almost like a prologue. That
Hmm.
that's not fair. It's not really. You know what I mean? Like it really is the first act of this story, but it kind of feels that way because you lose Forrest Whitaker after that.
Yeah. No,
I mean, he's
exactly.
basically a ghost through the film,
No,
narratively.
there was a point where they're at a bar. I think it's the first time they go to the bar in this movie after the whole Forrest Whitaker thing, and I went like, okay, like this is the epilogue of the story, but like we're expanding it out and really fleshing out those ideas in the aftermath of this, and kind of making that the story.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I don't know.
That was
I
the
think that's
coolest thing
cool.
about it to me was
Hmm.
just like it's a really compelling thriller at the beginning, and it's 45 minutes, and then I'm like, there's still another hour and a half of movie here, or hour and 15 minutes, I guess. It's also not a long movie, but
No.
and I don't even mean in a bad way. It feels longer than it is.
It does, but it's because you have like a movie and then you stop and then you have to like not start over, but you kind of have to start and like build up a new thing going on
Yeah, it's like
halfway through.
it's its own sequel in a good way. It's weird because I usually complain
Mhm.
when things do that, but this
What
is
justifies it more so.
it does, yeah.
Mhm.
This is doing that thing right where it's taking a lot of risks in a lot of different ways, obviously,
Mhm.
especially in 1992, and it's making it clear it understands rules of narrative before it starts breaking them.
Mhm. No, absolutely.
It's got a really
Uh,
good command of narrative. It's also just a lot of really good writing. There's a lot of really nice, like dry-witted banter between
mhm.
the couple. If you full on see them as a couple, and I'm off in left field on this. Like every I looked at a few period reviews and stuff, and everybody talked about this like a love story. Super Billy, who asked us to do this, called it a great love story. I'm not 100% convinced that it's a uh, conventional love. It's obviously not a conventional love story anyway, but that it's conventional in the sense that by the end, these are two people that want to make a romantic future together. I don't know. I'm just not 100% sure. I think he loves her, and I think he would do anything for her, but I don't know for sure
Mhm.
if it's that if it's exactly romantic. I almost think it transcends romantic love. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
I'm in a weird place with it.
yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
And superficially, I am saying we needed that sex scene for me to be totally sure, and we didn't get that. So,
Mhm. Um,
and again, I'm saying that is really superficial. So when the director says, I wanted to prove that love can exist without sex," I'm like, well, that's more fuel for my fire. What kind of a relationship in his mind does he want it to be? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm also not saying that that if even though he thought he was before all of this, this is such a sensitive thing to talk about. That before all of this, he was a completely heterosexual. Never would have imagined being with someone who was born a man. But this is the exception. I also would buy that. I just don't know which it is what I'm saying. But I also think I would buy that given what we got here.
Yeah, like in a way they're like a non-romantic, or yeah, like obviously there's like a romantic element to it, but you almost see it like it's kind of split between a romantic and a non-romantic kind of soulmate type thing, right?
I
Like,
see it as maybe that. Yeah, it's
mhm.
inconclusive to me. What did you think of his performance
I think
of Jay Davison
I
as
think in general all of the
the
acting's really good in this movie.
yeah.
Uh, it's kind of one of those movies where there's no real like weak link in the cast, I
No,
think.
I agree. If there is one, it's the female IRA agent, just because she's a little mustache twirly.
Yeah.
Like she's a little two dimensional. Because I don't know where all that hatred and vitriol comes from. Because I don't understand the IRA.
Kev's just like, oh, why are these IRA people so mean?
But you need that contrast because she clearly has kind of lost any humanity she might have had.
Hmm. No,
That's
absolutely.
that's intentional. I
No, it
also
makes
think that
sense that that woman went on to be the journalist woman in Harry Potter.
that's not who that is it?
Yeah, no, that is who it
Oh, is
is.
it really? That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, let me ask you the $100,000 question, which
Mhm.
is and I mean, I know hard to put yourself have historical perspective, put yourself back
I can't put myself back into
in the period
1992 because I was there.
because you didn't exist yet. That's the point I'm making. I know that's difficult, but imagine it. A lot of your favorite things are from this period. The Simpsons has one of its better seasons during this period. So go back in your mind and imagine audiences seeing this for the first time, not knowing the twist. Does it actually get anybody? Do most people watch this movie thinking that is a female actor, that is an actress,
Mhm.
before the revelation that it's a man playing a transgendered character?
That really is the impossible question. Um,
Because I knew it going in, but I'm pretty sure I would have gotten it after listening to her talk for like 5 minutes, or
no,
I would have suspected it.
I that's the thing, right? Because we knew going in, and I caught it like instantly, both visually and um, just hearing her talk. But is that also because I knew going in? It's that I.
And is it
And then
also
if you go back to 92, like I don't know.
And is it also because you've maybe seen more things in the culture like that now, but in 1992 you wouldn't have, so it would have been more
Exactly.
surprising. Not that there wasn't anything, and not that you might not know some transgender people personally, even back then. Like all of these things are possible, so it would be a case by case basis. But 30 years ago, because that's how long it's been for the average person, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if the big revelation that less mature people than this movie would want to make this movie all about and go, ha, his thing was in a scene, um, would would that have actually been a surprise to people in that moment, a shock to people? I do think the movie cheats about it a little bit.
Oh, in what way?
Well, in it being as big of a revelation for Fergus himself, because we're not supposed to know that that's a gay bar,
Mhm.
and I hesitate because I'm like, is what exactly kind of bar is it? Like when she says, "Well, I thought you knew because of where you were," I'm assuming it's more or less a gay bar, right? As opposed to like a wholesale trans bar or whatever. Like I don't know. I think I think it's kind of like a mix of different kinds of people. But anyway, as soon as he goes
It's kind of like
back,
an LGBT bar,
yeah,
yeah.
as soon as he goes back, they make it as obvious as humanly possible, and he looks like a moron for not picking up on it.
Yeah, I mean, there is an element where I kind of watch it and go like, can you not pick up on what's happening? I
Yeah.
don't know. And he has a line later on where he says like he did know the whole time.
Oh wait,
So
really?
yeah, there's a line.
But he was shocked by it.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Okay, that's strange.
No, it's the reverse of that Simpsons joke where Homer goes around all the different bars, and there's one where he's in like a lesbian bar, and he's like, "Oh, something about this bar seems wrong, or like seems off." I know, this lesbian bar doesn't have a fire exit.
Um, what was the thing that reminded you of The Simpsons right away?
Oh, it was the song that starts playing at the beginning. When I started this movie, I messaged Cap and I was like, "Oh, this probably holds the record for the fastest a movie has made me think of The Simpsons because it's like opening frame." Um,
It was a good choice of song.
yeah, they all
Because it was
picked
When a Man Loves a
songs.
Woman. Now, I will tell you, that song is used in way too many early 90s movies. I don't know why that is, but it shows up a lot. I can't think of other examples, but it shows up a lot.
Yeah,
But it's When a Man Loves a Woman immediately setting up or at least one of the themes of the movie that you have no idea it is setting up. It's a really
mhm,
nice bit of musical foreshadowing, and it's
yeah,
also kind of double, triple entendre maybe with that
mhm.
too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, there's a few songs like that because I think the ending song has that as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head
I
what the
don't
song
remember what
was.
that is. Yeah.
Um, but I can't hear When a Man Loves a Woman without thinking of there's an episode of The Simpsons where I think Krusty runs. It's either for president or governor. I can't remember. But his like campaign song, it's like when a man loves his country, like Krusty loves America, and that's all I can think of.
What season is that? Did you say?
That's like late, like middle teens, if not
Okay,
into the 20s.
I've never seen
It's
that then.
it's later on, yeah,
Um,
I think.
there was only one other kind. I'm sorry, we haven't read super chats yet. I'll do that just in a
Mhm.
minute. Thank you guys. I I had only one other kind of narrative hiccup thing, and it's not major, but this is a really well told story. It's in however you feel about some of the weirdness of just choices with it, where it's like do all these things, do all these disparate elements really come together? I think ultimately, the more we're talking about it, they do. But I get why some people walked into this and were like, it seems like we kind of took three or four different stories and piled them on top of each other. But it also is more credible because that's life. Like that's one of the things I like about it, right? Is it just
Mhm.
feels really authentic. It feels like the stuff is really happening. There's one bit where I thought there was kind of a mistake just in, I guess I'm gonna say plotting, or um in dialogue writing, where and I messaged you about it, where Fergus is talking to Dill, and under the pretense that he has never met Jody and doesn't know what happened to him, and again, he holds himself responsible for his death, but he's pretending like he's never met the guy. And Dill is talking about him and says that he died. Does not say when, and then very shortly after that, Fergus says, "Shouldn't you be in mourning?" And I'm like, well, that seems like a mistake on his part because he doesn't know. From her perspective, he wouldn't know how long Jody had been dead. So that would be almost a tell that he knows more than he's supposed to know.
Mhm.
And that doesn't read like the character making a mistake. That reads like the movie making a mistake in writing that line.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think that ever comes back, does it? Like, it's not like that's a.
She doesn't
So
pick
it.
up on it, and at any point is like, "Well, now wait a minute. You know more than you should, or you're acting like you knew him or something." Like he
Mhm.
has to explain it to her later while she's drunk, not knowing if she's even picking up on anything, and doesn't realize that she actually heard every word until he wakes up in the morning and she's got him tied up on the bed and he can't go do the terrorist act he's supposed to do, which is the reason that the lady IRA agent shows back up to kill him, because he didn't show up to kill the whatever official it was that he was supposed to kill, a governor or someone, I forget.
Mhm. Yeah,
I guess right now
exactly.
I'm just proving that I watched the film.
You
But I
did it.
did. I watched the film.
Good job.
Anyway, but are you with me on that? That's maybe an oversight.
Yeah. No, that's a mistake in dialogue.
Uh, it jumps out when there's not any of that otherwise. Really
Hmm.
well written movie, and he wrote and directed it, which is really impressive. Bob
Yeah,
the
no,
Hun,
that's
$5
awesome.
super chat. I assume this is being facetious. These hacks ripped off the brilliant screenwriters Jack Bernstein and Tom Shadyack's masterpiece Ace Ventura. Even used the same song. Shameful lawsuit. So uh,
Alrighty then.
that movie is after this and is parroting this to some degree, right? Is that what I'm taking from that?
Um, I don't know.
I
I
haven't.
don't. What year does that come
I
out?
thought
I
Ace
don't
Ventura
remember.
was 93 or 94. I'm hesitating here. I think Ace Ventura and The Mask both come out the same year, which was insane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm bad with years. Is it the same year?
Yeah. Yeah, now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, it is. I'll double check, but I know this is a thing I know. It is.
Yeah. All I know is that Jim Carrey won a Razzie for Ace Ventura.
But yeah, 94, and like that was the year of Jim Carrey. It was really crazy that he had two-star vehicles the same year like that before he'd really done anything. But
And Dumb and Dumber apparently is also
oh, that's
94,
right, that's
according to
also
the chat.
94. Isn't that nuts?
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's really
Like all of
wild.
his star vehicles are the same year.
Why do you think he got so huge so quickly? Yeah, it was the year of Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
His
that's
movies
crazy.
came in. His first movies came in threes, like celebrities dying do.
It would have been really funny if he was nominated for Razzie for all three of them.
But yeah, I'm gonna assume that he was just joking there, and that movie might be parroting this some. I haven't seen it in a long time, and well, I say a long time. I think I sat down and watched it again a couple of years ago, and was sad because I didn't think it held up, and it wasn't that funny. But when I was a kid, it was really funny. But I'd never heard of or seen The Crying Game, so if I do make myself sit down and watch it again, and there is a lot of parody of this movie, I'll go, oh wow, there's a whole other layer to this.
Well, I think it's just because of the twist at the end with the female cop.
Yeah, that's what I was hesitating. I thought I remembered a transgender twist with that, but I wasn't sure
Hmm.
if I was right about it.
Yeah, because it's like the big climax where he's ripping her clothes off to prove that she's a man.
Oh, that's right. Chewbacca's Lover, $2 super chat. Most of Siskel and Ebert's reviews are on YouTube. Yeah, and didn't used to be. I guess he felt the need to mention that when I was talking about a Siskel and Ebert review earlier. But Ebert has a official channel now that's regularly uploading stuff that was never available before, which is really great. There used to be an archive of, and I don't mean to take the opportunity to just constantly sing my praises of Ebert all the time. But I don't know. He's a hero of mine. I love Roger Ebert. But anyway, they there used to be an At the Movies website that archived most of their shows in a much nicer quality than we ever had them anywhere else. And for whatever reason, that got taken down, I think even while Roger Ebert was still alive. I can't remember. This is a long time ago now. And it's sad that that doesn't exist anymore.
Daniverse on the chat just said there's a new website. I don't know if it has like all of that
Ooh,
up there,
I'll
but
have to go
that might
look.
be
I'm gonna waste way too
replacement.
much of my time on that. If that's the case, I love listening to that stuff. Chewbacca's
I
Lover.
finally saw my first review by them a little bit ago. Noah on the Discord sent me their review of Home Alone 3, which was really funny.
It's really funny, especially because Ebert didn't like the first Home Alone.
No,
But I guess he was just in a good mood that day because he was like, because he kept driving home. Well, it's entertaining for the target audience, and I'm like, so was the first one. I don't know what you're talking about.
this one's way worse.
That was kind of his. It was kind of his review of Twilight too, like, well, for the
Oh, I
target
didn't
audience,
know.
and I get why he's saying that. Not that he was saying like that's a great movie or anything, and I don't think he. It's not like he gave Home Alone 3 like 3.5 stars or anything.
Oh, he definitely gave it a 4. I mean, it's with any critic, right? Like they've got some weird reviews where you kind of go like, "What?"
Yeah. Well, it's impossible. I mean, you can do this with my stuff. It's not
That's what I mean. It
possible
goes
to
with
be
any critic.
consistent. You could go back and we're also like comparing the man through his entire career, right? Like I've done this 13 years. Ebert did it for 40, and if you or however long it was, I mean, like he was reviewing in the late 60s, early 70s, and all the way up till he died in 2013, and like you hold a man to opinions he had later in life to in his 30s and with different movies, and he's going to have changed, you know.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite go-tos is that he hated both The Thing and Hellraiser, but he thought Anaconda was really creative.
Yeah.
Like it happens with anybody. It's just kind of funny to laugh at. The
No,
only
it
thing
is, and I'm not saying it's wrong to laugh at that, but then you also want to temper it a little bit and go, okay, but you know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
funny, but this could happen to you. You know, like if this was your
yeah.
career,
No, it's any critic.
you would also have this. I almost want to do it to myself on purpose. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I almost want to go to old How We Felt Abouts and rewinds and stuff and be like, how did the same guy that said this also say this? Like, what an idiot! Because it is funny. But you gotta remember with Ebert, it's like, and I'm by no means comparing myself to Roger Ebert. I'm just saying that I have a somewhat similar career, I guess, much smaller, and I think you also got to remember that with him, he's seeing 4 movies a week.
hmm No, absolutely. And I mean, things can hit you different ways depending on when you see them.
I
Uh,
tried that for 6 minutes. I was like, never again.
no, the only thing that sucks with, and it's not Ebert. This is on Siskel, but is when Siskel like doxed one of the actresses from Friday the 13th because he didn't like that movie. Like that's a ugh.
I forgot about that. Can we blow through these super chats?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Chewbacca's
do
Lover,
it.
$2 super chat. I only know about the IRA from Punisher Max.
Yeah, they probably show up in Kitchen Irish, I guess. It's been a while since I've read that, so I didn't remember that they were in it.
Well, and that means that I've probably read an arc or two where they're talked about and it went over my head and I was like, what do these Irish people have to do with gun rights? I don't understand.
I mean, it's the Punisher.
That's probably why I didn't bat an eye at it. Yeah, Chewbacca's Lover funded another $5 super chat. Thanks so much, man. Based on that comic, oh, he's still talking about this. They are the British to what Al Qaeda is to America. The Brits really detest them and talk about them like we do Osama bin Laden. Wow. One thing I really appreciated with this movie is it doesn't get into the ideology with that at all, and it takes a terrorist, again, people who don't see themselves as terrorists see themselves as what should be, the true government or military or whatever. But like, he's just a guy. He's just completely humanized. So he's paying for his mistakes. Again, there are actions and consequences. But again, I love how mature the movie is about everything. Where everybody's judged on what they do, not what they believe in. I think is the best way to put it, right?
Mhm.
Like Dill
Yeah.
is just presented as what she is. Like, here's this transgendered person that our protagonist thought was a woman in the first place, and then was surprised to find that it wasn't what he thought, and now he has to make a choice about that. But the movie doesn't seem to be coming down on anybody about anything.
Yeah, no, it's just, I mean, it's what movies should be, right? Like we
Except
just.
for when they do like unarguably reprehensible things.
Mhm. No, absolutely. No, I mean, it's what a movie should be. We get these characters and they do their thing, and it doesn't really feel like a movie being like, "Hey, this is how you should feel."
Yeah. Well, and that's why I say people should be allowed to go into this not knowing what's in it, and people should go into movies like this with an open mind, because I think most of us can find something of ourselves in this character.
Hmm.
Like, regardless of what you think or believe in anything, it transcends all of that. There's a real humanity in it. Um, and like, this is not my favorite movie. I didn't love sitting through certain parts of this. I don't know how much I'll go back and watch it again, but I have a massive respect for it.
Yeah, I found watching it that I really enjoyed those first 40 minutes, and I really enjoyed like the last half hour or so, but there was just like a period in the middle where, um, and I mean, it's structurally how the movie's playing, which is you kind of build up and then you cut off and you start up again. And that kind of initial like first act of your second half of the movie kind of made me go like I don't know. I was kind of enjoying where that last movie was going, and now I'm kind of starting over. So I don't know exactly what's going on yet. Still just trying to piece it together, and like maybe aren't as into it as I was before. But then it ends up picking up again, anyways. So it
Well,
kind of ultimately wins out.
and that's the risk the movie takes, right?
It's always the risk you're gonna take with a kind of twist in the middle like that where you start over. Absolutely.
And again, I like it
I
because,
mean, I have that a little with Psycho. We talked about that when we reviewed it,
yeah,
where I don't think the main character after the big twist is as interesting as the main character before. Like it's the risk you run.
yeah, exactly. But again, I appreciate how real the whole thing feels. Where it's like, well, that's what life is like.
Mhm.
Sometimes your life is a sitcom. Sometimes your life is a comedy. Sometimes your life is a spy thriller if you choose to be a terrorist. But I don't want to use that as an excuse for movies that do this poorly. You know what I mean?
Mhm. No, absolutely.
Like, it doesn't work because life is like that. It works because it's authentic and it feels real, and it decided to go that way. That's why it's working.
Yeah, because everything that it's doing is kind of working to one direction, even though you're kind of moving in a way that, like you said, you're kind of getting seemingly disparate elements popping in.
Bob the Hun, $5 super chat, and he is making fun of us. You guys are both IRA
Oh.
supporters. You're not fooling anyone. We've seen how you talk about the UK in your reviews. The subtext is not lost on us.
That is actually true. Here, I got my. Actually, this kind of proves that I'm not IRA, but I do have my England jacket over here that I wear at all times. So there you go. But that proves that I'm not IRA
No, it doesn't though, because you might have that on hand in case somebody
for
leaves
a
that super chat.
disguise. Um,
Yeah, exactly. So no, I've got proof. That doesn't prove it. It's about actions, dude. That's what I'm saying.
no, it just proves that my disguise works.
Oh. The subtext is entirely lost on me. Bob the Hun. Thomas Lowe,
Cap
86.
doesn't even know what the IRA is, let
Yeah,
alone that he's a part of it.
I must be an unwitting participant. I had to ask this. You guys crying while watching. I was not brought to tears by this film.
I think the last movie I cried in was probably Clifford, and that's like one of the only ones that I've cried in. So this wasn't it for me. But
I have teared up watching movies for this show, at least a couple of
you
times.
cried up or teared up this week watching a movie.
Well, yes, but that's a movie that I always tear up watching. I'm doing a um I'm doing a rewind on Monday for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I can't get through that funeral scene at the end without tearing up. I do it every time. But yeah, this what do you think of the title with this movie?
Well, I walked in thinking it was going to be like the Hunger Games, but everybody was going to be well fed and crying, so um, that's good. Yeah, and I guess there's a song that is the title of the movie.
Yeah, it's based
Uh,
on a song that she sings. Um, I guess we could try to read into
there's like
more.
four versions of it
Oh,
played throughout the
yeah,
movie.
that's true. That's true.
Because in the credits, it was like this song, The Crying Game, this song, The Crying Game, this song, The Crying Game.
It was originally supposed to be called something like The Soldier's Wife or something,
Oh,
and it
interesting.
was changed because of a fear that people would think it was a war movie. And
Well, and that would be a reference to one line, right? Because there is a moment where she talks about how Forrest Whitaker was in the army. So it would
well,
be
we
just a
well,
reference to
and
that.
we know that he was because that's why he gets kidnapped.
Oh
He's
yeah,
he's actually stealing the army. That's why he gets kidnapped.
I think that like reverted out of my brain because they're at like a carnival
Yeah,
when he gets kidnapped. So yeah, no, that's fair.
he was either on leave or I don't know.
Doing whatever, army, stupid army things, never working.
uh, but yeah, the bigger reason I'm actually glad that it wasn't called something like that is because you put wife in the title and
It
45
draws too much attention
45
to
minutes in you're waiting for the wife. Like it's the same thing as telling me that there's a transgender person in the movie somewhere.
yeah, it'd be like if Fight Club was called The Man with Two Heads or something.
Fight Club should have been called Soap.
Oh, okay.
You ever had that thought?
No,
No.
but
All
I
right.
mean that makes sense.
I mean, it does. There's already soap on the box. Chewbacca's lover, Chilo Super Chat. You've seen Jay Davison before in Stargate.
Yes, he's the main villain of that.
Oh, yeah, he's got kind of an androgynous look in that too, where he's like kind of an effeminate looking villain. Boy, I didn't even think of that.
And I've never seen that, but I did look up a few of the main actors.
He's really good in that. I mean, really menacing. But I didn't know if this actor was ever in anything else. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah.
His filmography is like very bare. It's like these two movies, and I think like a one show appearance.
Well, I
It was
heard
very small.
somebody, or I read somebody when I was doing research today say that or call him like a one-hit wonder, but not if he was in Stargate.
Was that movie that big? Yeah,
It was big enough to get a TV show.
that's fair.
I mean, it wasn't like
Yeah.
a massive hit or anything, but neither was this. Like,
hmm well, I guess it just means because that's also a Roland Emmerich movie, so maybe
that's
it's like,
true. I forgot about that. We're gonna find out how much money Stargate made,
it
because now I
made
want to know.
$3.50
That's not true.
more,
No, it,
but
it it did much better than making its money back. And keep in mind, this is of course 1994 dollars. But Stargate had a budget of 55 million and it made 196, which is a solid return.
yeah. Emmerich should have come back with that then instead of Independence Day, or he could have done Independence Day versus Stargate.
Yeah, well, there was a whole thing about that. There was supposed to be a trilogy, and the whole thing fell through.
Oh, okay.
They either got the rights back or were able to hang on to. No, they held on to the movie rights, so they were able to do a sequel series to that movie that would have nothing to do with the TV show, but it fell through, and it might be for the best that it did. I don't know. Chewbacca's lover just put in a $10 super chat. He's talking still about Punisher Max. Also in the comics. The IRA
This isn't a Punisher Max review.
the IRA plants bombs that kill civilians, including children. Don't know if that is accurate to real life or not, but Garth Ennis
That is accurate.
really seems to hate them and thinks they're evil.
I mean, Garth Ennis is British, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um,
What
No,
little I read about them today, it sounded like there were some. Because I hesitated saying terrorist, because I'm trying to be somewhat diplomatic, because I don't know enough about them and they don't see themselves that way. But a lot of terrorist groups don't, and with things that that I read that they did, I mean, yeah, it's hard.
yeah, once
It's
you
hard
start
not to say.
bombing places,
Yeah,
it's hard to be like, oh, we're not terrorists. We're just ahead of the curve.
Hot Soup says he read that that actor didn't like Fame, so he quit acting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame anyone for that.
Uh, Anyway, thanks again for that super chat, Shoebox Lover. Anything else that you want to bring to the table here before we bid everybody farewell? We've been talking about this for an hour.
No, I don't have anything offhand. Do you have anything?
No, I think we were pretty thorough. This was a really interesting one to chat about. I was nervous about it, just because I needed to really feel it out, talking about it out loud to get a good sense of my. I feel more confident in where I land with it, I think.
Yeah, I feel like just talking about it probably goes up 1 or 2 spots in my ReQuest movie ranking.
I had a weird thing where I felt uncomfortable talking about it, but not uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah.
Like even
I'm just always uncomfortable.
Even the famous or infamous scene or whatever, I didn't find uncomfortable.
Yeah.
How else do you do that reveal? Like I didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't offend my sensibilities or anything. Like.
No, I mean I just watched Sleepaway Camp like 2 weeks ago, so I was fully prepared for that.
But again, it was wonderfully mature about it, right?
No, absolutely.
It was like, here's male nudity because we're revealing a thing. It wasn't. There was no judgment about the way it was shot. I love that. I mean, my big takeaway is this movie is not judgmental. It just presents a narrative. Here it is.
No, if this movie were a person, you'd want to be friends with them because they'd just be like chill and they wouldn't judge you for anything.
Brian says Hot Soup is repeating posts over and over again, but says that maybe his live chat is broken because I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't. He's not
Hot Soup, stop.
He's not doing it on purpose. I know Hot Soup. I don't think he would do that. That doesn't sound like a Hot Soup thing to do.
Yeah, but could Hot Soup be a part of the IRA?
Hey, that's not fair. Don't label him a terrorist. That's not cool. Anyway,
hey, use the T word.
Don't label anybody a terrorist, okay?
It's just you, Brian McCann.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed Austin's final show on the ReQuest. And
how many times have you said that on the show?
Oh, you've had lots of final shows. Yeah, I'm like J. Jonah Jameson. I am just constantly firing your ass.
Exactly. But you keep bringing me back.
Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a really interesting one to do. Thanks to Super Billy for making us watch it. And next time we're watching a movie in Austin's favorite wheelhouse.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
We're doing another anime film, Austin.
Oh, you brought me up here, then you crushed me down.
No, I was being facetious. Favorite in that you haven't liked any of the animes we've watched.
I know, but I know Evil Dead 2 is in the list, and that's my favorite movie, so I thought that's where we were going.
3 weeks from now. No, you couldn't tell in the tone of my voice that I was being sarcastic? I was using my sarcastic voice!
Well, it wasn't sarcastic enough.
Now you look foolish!
I feel foolish.
I love that line so much, because it has so many uses. You can commandeer that line all day long.
No, Rocket's like one of the most quotable characters in a superhero movie.
Oh, and this is a wonderful segue too, because we were just talking about Hot Soup, who is not a terrorist and did not leave a whole bunch of the same chat over and over again. But this is actually
some people call Hot Soup a terrorist.
Okay, stop it. We've gone too far. his anime pick is the next movie for review, and we're gonna do. I think it's from '97. It's late '90s. We're gonna do Perfect Blue, which I've heard
Oh,
the
that's a
title
movie
of.
I've wanted to see for a long time. So
Oh,
that's
you
actually
actually want to watch this one?
no, that's a horror movie that people really like, and that's one that sounds really interesting to me. So I'm cool with that one.
Bob the Hunt.
That's
I don't even know if he's joking at this point. Look, I don't know anything about this organization. Is the IRA even still an organization?
I don't know. And if they are, they're not as big as they used to be.
Bob the Hunt fighter with a super chat. The IRA is not evil or a terrorist group. You guys should be ashamed of slandering them. They should sue you and take your channel down. And he says, I sent you both a final and poignant super chat.
That is correct.
I don't know what to say to that.
Oh, and then he took it back.
he says I'm just kidding. I mean, I assumed you were kidding. But yeah.
Anyways, Perfect Blue. I'm excited for that.
You know,
that's all about like the darkness of Hollywood. So.
He says he knows about as much about the IRA as you do. Well, that makes me feel better. I'm glad it's not just me.
You guys are such ignorant Americans. I'm so above you in every way.
I mean, if you lived here your whole life, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't know what that is.
I mean,
it's not like you know a bunch about it.
That's not true. I know about them. I know that they have 3 letters in their name, which are I, and R and A.
I also know that now.
They bombed things.
Yeah.
I know quite a lot about the IRA.
Say one more thing you know about the IRA that you didn't get from this movie.
They killed a lot of people. Oh, that I didn't.
That's in the bombing. That's in the bombing part. It's got to be unrelated to that.
Oh, well, I know that they wanted to take down the Brits to make Ireland its own country.
None of these are things that I didn't already say at some point in this video.
Yeah, but you knew that because I told you, so...
That's not true. That's not true. Anyway, so Perfect Blue. I'm curious to see this movie now, because it's a anime film that Austin actually wants to watch.
Yeah, no, that's been on my list for a long time, and I just haven't gotten to it.
We're gonna do it. I don't know where it's streaming. Hopefully we can get our hands on it pretty easy, but...
Yeah, that
we'll
I'm not sure. But I mean, we found other stuff.
There's only
I'm gonna be really sad if this is gonna be a straight story.
I was gonna say, there's only one thing on this show so far. How many movies have we done? 22, 23?
Something like that.
There's only one that you weren't able to get, and it was about an old man driving cross-country on a lawnmower, and you still need to watch it. I should buy you that movie and send it to you so you can see it. It's wonderful.
And it's on Disney Plus for you guys, and we have a way better Disney Plus, and it's not on our Disney Plus.
Isn't that weird? So the only thing we've got over you is that we got the old man on the lawnmower movie? Like,
yeah, I have all the Alien and Predator movies and like The Fly and all this great stuff, and you guys get the lawnmower movie.
I get the one movie by that guy I really, really liked.
You get The Lawnmower Man 3, A Straight Story.
Okay. I gotta get going. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back tomorrow night for a Captain Logan show. Friday night, Austin and I are going to be reviewing the new superhero film that nobody likes, apparently, but we'll see how it is, from Sylvester Stallone, called Samaritan.
And by the director of my favorite movie of 2018, so I'm, like, kind of upset that it's probably going to be terrible. So
what if it's...
We'll see.
What if we like it and nobody else does?
I really hope so.
Is it
really
possible?
Hope so. Mm-hmm.
Can we agree it can't be as bad as that Melissa McCarthy thing we had to review?
There's no way it's worse or as bad as Thunder Force. Thunder Force is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Why did we do that?
Because we thought it would be funny.
Was it?
No.
No?
But we did it.
If you'd like to make a request, you can go to patreon.com/geekvolution. At the $15 tier, you can request a comic, a movie, or a TV pilot. And thanks a lot for watching. We've got about a 3.5-4 month wait right now, but it might be a little bit less because we just knocked out a couple by folks that I think were kind of one-time reviews. But we'll see if Super Billy and other people that just did reviews ask for more. And in the meantime, thanks so much for being here. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Goodbye.
See you later, folks.